you can live a good life in France without spending a fortune. Most people I know earn under 2,000 euros per month and live perfectly happy, full and contented lives. Hello and a very warm welcome back to Living Well in France. Today we're going to talk about French frugality. The fact that many French families enjoy great food, beautiful homes, lovely holidays, yet spend way less than you think. Bonjour, I'm Jane, and if you're new here, I share everything that's positive about the French lifestyle. After living here for 20 years, I've managed to pick up some of those key secrets that the French use to make their euro go far further than you would imagine. Today, I'll give you some practical tips that you can apply to your life no matter where you live. French homeowners love doing it themselves. We painted our entire kitchen cabinets, walls, and even redid the backsplash for the price of a couple of fancy dinners. We also ripped out the old vinyl and laid in flooring ourselves. Labour savings over 2,000 euros. You don't need to be a pro. We're currently renovating a student apartment and my husband learned everything off YouTube. It's been a lot of work, but the savings are absolutely worth it. We bought a caravan that came with some very old-fashioned cushions, so I just made these removable covers with this lovely soft but inexpensive material and just attached it with elastic so they can easily be removed and washed as well. Keeping up with the neighbours? Not really a thing. One neighbour drives a beat-up old Peugeot and on the other side they have a very nice BMW. And nobody cares. We'd far rather just share our garden vegetables and talk about cheese and the weather. Even postage stamp-sized gardens or balconies have a potager. Tomatoes, herbs, lettuce. Our basil alone would cost around 50 euros a summer at supermarket prices. Plus, it's a teen-approved chore, sometimes. Whenever we need a new piece of furniture, the treasure hunt begins. In the summer, we head to the vide greniers or second-hand shops like Troc. You can find things with real character, history, and at a fraction of the cost of something brand new. Buying things second-hand in France isn't a last resort, it's a way of life, and there's absolutely no shame attached. The vast majority of my clothes come either from Vinted or from vide grenier. France is an extremely culturally rich country with free museum days, concerts in public squares and municipal events that can be taken advantage of instead of buying expensive outings. Public libraries are a mainstay for books, films and even cultural workshops. Most families in France shop 2 or sometimes even 3 times a week with meals in mind as they shop. It really helps to cut food waste. France actually wastes 30% less food than the US, and it keeps produce fresher. They don't do huge shops for anything they might want. They buy what they'll need for a few days. There's a lot more planning in food preparation, and their fridges tend to be smaller. In most French supermarkets, the first thing you will come to is the fruit and vegetable section when you walk in, which avoids you, if shopping on an empty stomach, from filling up your trolley with the more expensive, processed and unhealthy foods. Because ingredients are bought in small amounts, cooking from scratch just feels natural in France. Basic staples, flour, eggs, seasonal vegetables become crepes, ratatouille or a rustic quiche for pennies per serving. Restaurant nights are treats and not habits. Stick around to the end and I'll be sharing with you my recipe for a very simple Coq Au Vin. Petrol or gas is very expensive in France, and we bike whenever we can. The cycle path network here in Normandy is really excellent, and if it's not too far and the sun is shining, yes, it takes longer to get to where you want to go, but you save on gas, enjoy the journey and get fit, so why not? France has mountains, beaches, wine regions, castles, so why fly hours to a holiday destination? Over 70% of French holidays happen within the country. We've just booked a week's holiday in Brittany for €400, cottage included. Also, we really value the countryside around where we live. Old stone houses stay cool. Thick curtains trap heat in the winter. We air dry laundry, use shutters, and heat only the rooms that we use. The French social life centres on the table, not the shopping mall. Picnics in parks or along the river are a summer staple, and gatherings at home with wine, cheese and a baguette are more common than restaurant meetups. There's a reason why the French aren't obsessed with earning a huge salary, and why they don't need to. Two of the biggest life costs for most people, that of healthcare and education, are largely taken care of in France. Healthcare in France is considered one of the best in the world, and it's mostly funded through taxes and social contributions. You don't have to worry about massive hospital bills because the state covers the main part of it. The same goes for education. From preschool all the way through to university, costs are heavily subsidised, which means that students aren't buried in debt like in many other countries. France is one of the highest taxed countries in the world. The trade-off for this is that you get quality services without having to chase a six-figure salary just to survive. So in France, it's not so much about how much you earn, it's what your earnings can actually get you. And thanks to the generous system, you don't have to earn a fortune to live comfortably. So that's how we live well on less. DIY everything, shop intelligently, grow food, treasure hunt, and most importantly, savour the simple pleasures in life. Let me know in the comments which tip you will put into practice first. As promised, here's my quick and simple recipe for a Coq Au Vin, which is a traditional French dish made with chicken and red wine. I love cooking when it's simple and fuss-free. I'm not one for following recipes to the letter or spending hours in the kitchen. As a busy mum, I don't have the time or energy to faff about with complicated dishes, but every now and then I crave something that tastes like it's been simmering away all day. Coq Au Vin, or literally rooster in red wine, struck me as one of those far too fancy recipes I'd never attempt, but I was wrong. I found a way to simplify it so it's easy, stress-free and absolutely delicious. In fact, it tastes even better the next day after a night in the fridge. My favourite thing about this recipe is that it needs a fruity dry red wine, so you can pour yourself a glass while you're cooking, which is always nice. Coq Au Vin is one of the most iconic dishes in French cuisine, and it's deeply tied to the country's rural and regional cooking traditions. It's a traditional peasant dish. Historically, French farmers didn't butcher young tender chickens for special occasions. They used older roosters that had stopped breeding. These birds had tough meat, so they needed slow, moist cooking to become tender. The cooking method was to braise them for hours in wine with aromatics, onion, garlic, carrots, mushrooms and herbs. The acidity of the wine and the long cooking time broke down the tough meat. Although Coq Au Vin is now considered a national classic, it's most strongly linked to Burgundy. The Burgundy version uses Vin de Bourgogne, which is a Bourgogne red wine, and sometimes a splash of brandy, or Marc de Bourgogne. Other regional variations also exist. In Alsace, it's a Coq Au Riesling made with Riesling white wine. In Provence, it's Coq Au Vin Provençal with tomatoes, olives and local herbs. In Champagne, they make Coq Au Champagne with sparkling wine. And in Normandy, it's sometimes even made with cider or Calvados. I'll have to try that next time, I think. The Coq Au Vin represents terroir cooking, using local poultry, local wine and local vegetables. In restaurants, it's usually made with chicken now since roosters are less available, but the slow braise remains the key technique. In my version, I of course use chicken, and it's a very quick and easy technique. So just to recap what you've seen, I've prepared carrots, mushrooms, tomatoes, onion and garlic. Chop it all up, stick it in the pan with some olive oil, a packet of smoked bacon, any kind that you can find, just to add that lovely flavour, 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, a litre of chicken stock and 2 glasses of red wine. If you have some fresh thyme, then add that in as well. If not, dried thyme will do. And then cut the excess skin off some chicken pieces. I used chicken legs with the thighs. You can use just drumsticks if you prefer, or skinless, boneless chicken breast, whatever you like, whatever you have to hand. It doesn't really matter. Let everything simmer together for another 10 minutes or so, and then add it all to a crock pot and pop it in the oven on 200 degrees for about an hour and a half. The chicken will be perfectly tender and just fall off the bone, and all the flavours will be really rich. It's a very delicious meal and very simple to put together. Today I served it with new potatoes, but it's also delicious with mashed potato, fresh bread or pasta. And of course a glass of red wine. Check out this video next for more insights into the French lifestyle. Thank you so much for watching Living Well in France, and until next time, à bientôt!